Please, for the love of God, do not use all-purpose cleaner to clean leather. I'm going to be explaining why, coming right up on Hotchkiss Performance. But first, we need to get rid of this, and I need to go and put the kettle on. That's better. Hi everyone, welcome back to Hotchkiss Performance. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of what's coming up, because I will actually be splitting this video into 3 parts, because I think that just makes it easier for you guys to watch the video that you're most interested in and find out the information that you're looking for. So rather than doing an hour-long video, I'll be doing like 3 20-minute long ones. So in part 1, I'll be explaining what auto leather actually is, because then that gives us a better understanding of how we need to clean it, which I'll be covering in part 2. So part 2 is cleaning, and then in part 3 I'll be explaining the difference between a conditioner and a protector, and also explain a lot of the myths and misconceptions that surround leather, because there are a lot of people that don't really understand much about leather, and that's no disrespect to anybody. It's just if you haven't researched it or looked into it, you'll not know all the ins and outs. So there is quite a lot of myths surrounding these leather conditioners, so I'll go into more detail of that in part 3, but just to start off, we'll explain what auto leather actually is. Okay, so what is auto leather? Well, we've stepped it up a game on these videos, because rather than me just sat there talking to you, we've now got a whiteboard, so a bit more fancy. So don't take this as the whole process, because for the purpose of this video I'm just going to show you and explain the steps that actually matter to cleaning the leather, because before these there are other processes that are involved. So from the very moment it's removed from the animal and it's simply just a carcass, you know, the hair's got to be removed, the excess flesh has got to be removed, and a lot of other processes are involved. So degreasing before the tanning process isn't actually the first step, but they aren't really relevant to this video. So okay, we'll just get started. So at the degreasing stage, we're still not classed as leather. The animal hide is not classed as leather yet. So basically, before the tanning process, the hide or skin is degreased. So any excess, you know, oils, fats, that kind of thing, or dirt are just removed from the skin itself. And then we move on to the tanning process, and this is where the skin or the hide of an animal actually turns into leather, the technical term of leather, because before tanning it's not classed as a leather product. So after the tanning process, we now have leather. So we move on to the splitting process, and that is where the leather is actually split into sections. It can be 2 or 3 depending on the thickness of the leather that we have. So if you can imagine those 2 blocks were one piece of leather and they've been split through a machine, so we've got different sections now of the leather. And this stuff here on the very top, so the top section of the skin that has been split, that is the naturally occurring skin pattern, if you like. So if you look at your own skin, you can see it's not just perfectly smooth and perfectly flat, it does have a grain pattern. So that stuff in the leather industry is golden. That goes on to really high quality clothing, furniture and other accessories such as, you know, really expensive wallets, handbags and things like that. So underneath the top grain you will basically just have a flat piece of skin, as you can hopefully, that represents, apologies for the crude drawings, and this stuff is what goes on to be finished leather, and that is what goes into our car interiors. So we're not allowed this top grain stuff, that's too good basically. So after it's been split, we then go on to a stage called neutralisation, and this is where any excess fats, these are all natural animal fats and oils, are actually removed from the leather. That's important for the cleaning and the conditioning stage in the other parts of the video, so we will come back to that. That's not really a necessary step, we need to go into depth, but I'll explain that a bit more in the relevant sections of the video. Then we move on to the dyeing process. So, you know, we have red leather, black leather and many other different coloured leathers depending on where it's going. That's that step, and then after that, I think this is called fat liquoring. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this is where new synthetic or natural fats are introduced back into the leather, and these fats actually stay within the leather for 20 to 30 years. That's not an exact amount, but roughly they stay in a long time basically, and they won't be removed from the leather, they won't come back out of the leather, apart from in rare occasions, but we don't need to go into that just for now. So after that's been through that process, the leather is then set out for its final drying, and we aim to achieve around a 20% moisture content within the leather. I will come back to that as well, because that is more relevant for the cleaning process and again the conditioning process, so we'll come back to that. Now this step is interesting because a lot of people probably don't realise this, but the finishing process is where this happens. As you can see in all the glory, the best drawing in the world. So the black section is this, that leather section is underneath. Now what a lot of people probably don't realise is, because they probably just realise you get this, the top grain, and it's got that nice lovely skin pattern from the animal on the top. That's not true. Obviously this has been underneath this, so that section is just perfectly flat. There's no pattern on it at all. So you're probably thinking, well, when I look at the leather pattern inside my car, there is a pattern, it's not just perfectly smooth. Well, the grain is actually printed on top of the leather. So you basically got your leather and then a grain print. I don't think that's the correct term, but we'll just stick with that because it's easier to explain. So you've got the grain print. Think of it a bit like car paint work. You've got your, you've got your body panel, and then you've got your primer, and then you've got your colour. Similar principle here. And just like paint work, again, a lot of people might not realise this, leather actually has a clear coat over the top, and this is classed as pigment coated leather. So when you look into your vehicle, that surface of the leather, you're not actually touching and feeling the leather at all, because it's got a clear coat over the top basically. So just like your paintwork is built up in sections, your leather is exactly the same. So hopefully we've cleared up what this leather actually is, what goes inside your vehicle. As I say, this is called pigment coated leather, and the reason I've explained this is because it's very important when we move on to the cleaning stage. So I'll explain about cleaning in part 2, so hopefully I've explained that the best way I can and you do understand what we're working with now. I just wanted to explain that because it is relevant to part 2, which is moving on to cleaning. So obviously, like anything in detailing, we have to clean it with the correct products and the correct techniques, and I'll be showing you that in part 2. So please go and watch part 2, and I'll see you on the other side. As always guys, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like if you have enjoyed this video, and also if there's anything you'd like to input, please leave it in the comments. If there's anything else you'd like to add or any questions that you'd like to ask me, just leave it in the comments below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Cheers.